Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Slappin Kpop podcast. I'm Sammy, and with me today is Kayla.
Hello.
And we're here for another edition of Company Reviews.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Much less interesting company this time.
It is. This seemed like it would be a good idea because this company, Starship, we're doing Starship this month, and if this is your first time on one of these, we go through every single group and notable soloist from the company, and then discuss how the company treated them.
Yes.
The thing is, we thought Starship would be we sort of planned out the whole year in the beginning.
And
just so we had a
we
rubric.
picked all of, like, the big mid-tier companies, and then we're ending with Big 3 plus Hype at the end of the year. So, just as a spoiler for that.
Yeah.
And Starship is, like, a pretty solidly mid-tier company, and has been for, like, a pretty long time.
And the other thing is, for the most part, you'd think we'd have a lot to talk about, because there's a lot of groups. They have a lot of current groups, they have a lot of former groups, they just within the last 3 years debuted 2 more groups. Like, this is a solid company.
Yep.
That just keeps releasing groups. But, for the most part, the scandals and the treatment kind of, the same thing keeps, we're finding patterns in these companies. At least with FNC we found patterns, with Cube we found patterns. With Starship we found a pattern, but it's a boring pattern.
It's a boring pattern, because they're weirdly scandal-free in comparison to both FNC and Cube. There's just like I think we figured out the main thing with them is that they will let a group run the course of their career, and then towards the end when they stop being as profitable as they were at their peak, they forget they exist.
Exactly.
And
they don't
let them die quietly.
It's not even that they actively sabotage or, like, even stop giving them, like, comebacks. They will give them some comebacks, but for the most part, they just sort of let the group run on, like, their momentum, not so much on any new things. And then with some groups it'll work, with others it won't, and then the group will slowly die, whether the group wants to or not.
Yep. Which is just boring. It's unfortunately just a boring way to go about it. So it's not going to be as spicy as some of the other
overall,
episodes.
It's probably the most profitable way to do it, because, again, you're sort of just cutting off the money to groups that are becoming less profitable to focus it on groups that are becoming more profitable. Starship is the company where I feel like they tend to do the very stereotypical thing of, once you get the shiny new group, you're gonna start to ignore the old group.
Yes.
They're like, people will throw that as a blanket term for, like, every company. It's like, oh, well, this is a replacement for this other group. And I'm like, half the time I don't agree. Because, like, the company is still giving the one, like, group's promotion. But with Starship, it really does seem like that does happen.
Yep.
But, like, let's go chronologically.
Yeah, so we're gonna start back all the way in 2008, with their soloist K-Will. And that's really the first person who comes out of Starship Entertainment.
Yeah, he's like the first major person. Most people who have, again, I think most current Kep fans have maybe never even heard of K-Will. Because he's not as in the public eye anymore. At least, he does a lot of OSTs. He's like
a solidly an OST man now.
Yeah. So K-Will, in the beginning, also, most K-pop fans, I don't think has any idea what K-Will looks like.
No, K-Will does not make, like, he's not in most of his music videos, if any of them, so...
But honestly, I think Starship did a brilliant thing with K-Will, at least from, like, when was Please Don't? Like, 2012?
Something like that?
I don't know if anything happened before that, but at least from 2012 onward, Starship actually had a very brilliant idea of what to do with K-Will music videos, because K-Will is an older middle-aged soloist who sings, like, they're not ballads, but they're, like, chill, like, the closest thing I can describe is, like, they're almost like adult contemporary
pop ballad.
They're not ballads, but they're
not ballads,
poppy.
but they're, like,
And so, like, and the close thing is, like, Google what K-Will looks like, because me and Kayla both had forgotten what he looks like. He kind of looks a little like Daesung.
He was a little bit like
Daesung.
Daesung. I thought So In-guk was K-Will for a like solid amount of time.
I did too, because I didn't know fully who So In-guk was when I first got into K-pop.
No, and then the first music video I saw of him was Please Don't, and that's just all So In-guk in the music video, and exactly. I had no idea that wasn't K-Will.
And the thing with K-Will is Starship had the brilliant idea of K-Will's not in his music videos. He makes cameos. He made a cameo in whatever one L is in, but what they will do is that they will just cast, either in both lead roles, or at least in just one of the lead roles, a very popular idol. So In-guk is in the Please Don't music video. Chanyeol is in a different music video. I think that Schumann's in one of them. Soyu's in one of them. Who else? L from Infinite's in one of them. Like, they just continue to cast very popular idols to be the leads in his music video, so people will start to watch it for the idols. And then the songs are really good. Mm-hmm. I mean, K-pop fans aren't really gonna go for contemporary pop ballads, but you know what? Please Don't is a fucking banger.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Please Don't's great.
Regardless of, the music video is also amazing, but the song itself also a banger.
Spoil nothing.
Yeah.
But if you're a K-pop fan and you've never seen Please Don't, watch it. No spoilers.
That's like required viewing for K-pop.
Oh, yeah. Also, I completely forgot that Sistar's Dasom is the main lead, the girl lead.
I don't think I ever knew that, to be honest.
Yeah. I just looked it up again because I'm like, I know the female in that. I just remember So In-guk.
I know. I just only see So In-guk. I don't think I ever put two and two together.
But, like, honestly, his videos were always really well done. They were always very sweet.
They're very cinematic.
Are really good.
Because they always tell a story, so they're always very fun to watch for the, like...
Yeah, I think
they have a plot to them.
Yeah, overall, he does very well.
He's still in Starship.
He's still in Starship. I think that he's sort of, cut down, I believe, a bit, maybe, on, like, his solo work.
Yeah.
But I think he does a lot of OSTs, and the man is doing great.
He is.
I like K-Will.
K-Will's good. People, I think, forget he exists and is in Starship.
I do.
So.
Yeah. Especially recently, because he hasn't put out much.
He definitely hasn't been as active recently.
Alright. But yeah, K-Will, I can't particularly think of any big scandals that they had to navigate with K-Will, because K-Will...
I don't think he had any.
Not particularly. I think, how old is K-Will now?
K-Will is 40 years old now.
K-Will's 40 years old now, so he was in his 20s, late 20s, when he started his career. Mm-hmm. In Starship, so like that's already an adult. I think that like there's much less room for terribly big scandals, especially because again, I think many people do not know what K-Will looks like.
Yes.
Much less to know a scandal from him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then we move on to Sistar, debuted in 2010. 4 members: Hyolyn, Dasom, Soyu, and Bora, and So, the main timeline of Sistar is that in 2010, Sistar debuts. 2011, they get their subunit Sistar 19 that has Hyolyn and Bora. 2012, Hyolyn solo debuts. Between there, they become the queens of the K-pop Summer Jam.
Summer concept,
Yep. They disbanded in 2017. Dasom and Soyu renew their contract with Starship, but the other two, Bora and Hyolyn, do not. This entirely leave on good terms after their contract ends. And then in 2017, Soyu debuts solo, and the other two have not been super active.
I don't know where Bora is at.
Bora, I don't know. She is. Dasom recently did the song last year with Hyolyn. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, Sistar... It's interesting, because very often when you get a K-pop group with a sexy concept... You're lithered with, like... I mean, obviously they went through, like, the shaming comments and all that. But for the most part, they're one of the only groups with that concept where most people were not like, oh, this seems exploitative.
Yeah.
They fully seemed like they wanted to do this. Mm-hmm. And even when you look at, like, both Soyu and Hyolyn's solo music, they continue to want to do that concept even now.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
So I don't they sort of were scandal free because also they seem like strong, independent ladies.
Yeah, I also do really like that the way their disbandment was handled as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it was they all made it very clear, like Starship and the members included, that they were disbanding at the end of their contract period, which is fine because most girl groups only last that 7 years anyway. So that's just
but
like,
it always seems more dramatic.
But it's always so dragged out
so
because
dramatic.
No one releases statements or says anything about what's going to happen. So it like keeps like
and
this false hope in the fans for much longer than
and it was always like, oh, this person leaves and then, oh no, we're still in the group. No, Sistar were just like, we're done.
But that wasn't that also was not a thing that was common in 2017 either, where it's like someone would leave but still quote unquote be in the group.
But also, when has that happened? Other than with like 1 or 2 members leaving the company, when has that happened and we've actually gotten a comeback?
Yeah.
Post that. Very rarely.
It's happened like literally only twice, so.
Exactly.
But it's like, because they were so clear on the fact that they were going to disband after Lonely, they planned like a whole like slot of like special stages for them and all sorts of stuff that was happening to like that they were just gonna do for like celebrate their own career right before
they like did a full medley of like all their summer bops. I cried one of them because I'm just like, damn.
Yeah,
it was like the most well done disbandment I've ever seen because it was a disbandment where like no one was, because very easily like Sistar was still making money. Sistar was still doing so well.
Yeah,
they could have kept going.
Their song before that was "I Like That," and that was huge. Like that wasn't that was never considered like a flop or a decline or anything.
In a way, like Starship could have been bitter. Starship could have been like, "Oh, if you're leaving, okay, we're done. We're not even going to promote Lonely." But no, they promoted Lonely very well.
Yeah,
they gave them a full, so well done goodbye.
Lonely's also pretty like clearly a goodbye song as well, which that was also very nice and cute.
Yeah. But like not a goodbye song in like a super sad way, like just a it's over.
Very
song.
like a nostalgic, like bittersweet kind of a way, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that all the girl doesn't seem to be any animosity within the group. Like the girls seem like
no, not at all.
And then there doesn't seem to be any animosity between any of these people in Starship because, again, Dasam is still under Starship, and her and Hyolan did a song last year.
Yeah, half of them are still in Starship, and then, I mean, I don't know where Bora went. Bora is
I don't know. I think
a little bit MIA.
Bora is doing Bora things.
Yeah. But the other 3 are still active in the industry. Hyolan obviously is on Queendom 2 right now, still, like, thriving. Very, like, regularly makes solo music. And then also still interacts with like the other members of Sistar who are active.
Oh yeah,
as well,
I think that overall
that was it was a very like nice conflict, like bitter, like not salty disbandment. So
absolutely. I also do think that possibly, I think maybe because of the personality of the members, maybe because of just the style of reputation that and like concept that they gave Sistar was also able to be more upfront in like interviews and like in just what their personalities were allowed to be. They were not, because I remember Superstar 360, that short-lived thing. They were on an episode. They were on an episode of that, and I remember them, one of the IOI girls was the host of that.
I don't remember.
The one that disappeared, the one that went MIA, what's her name? The one we haven't seen since that group disbanded.
Sohee?
Yes. So he hosted that show. And I remember Sistar just blatantly telling her, be very careful with all the men in this industry.
Yes.
They are like they're terrible. And I'm like, I feel like if any other person said this, it wouldn't go over as well. But like they just have this they were sort of allowed to have this sort of air about them. And it was fine. Because that's just Sistar. They're, strong, independent ladies who don't need no man.
Yep.
And I think that it was done in such a way where all the members seemed like they were fine with because Sistar's concepts were always very, like, sexy. And I feel like we've seen that done by other companies where you're like,
it's questionable.
It's at least in terms of members' comfort. Sistar, I don't think, to me, never seemed to have that problem.
Yeah.
And even now, years later, none of the other members have come out and been like, yeah, I never wanted to do that.
And then, like, so, like, Hyolyn and Soyu's and solo music has also been very similar in the same concept.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like what they were comfortable doing to begin with, which is really good.
And you know what? You can do whatever concept you want as long as the people involved are comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's nothing wrong with never doing a sexy concept and never doing a cute concept. It's just, you have to get the people that are comfortable doing these concepts.
It's like, that was clearly a strength of all of the members for them, so there was no need for them to do anything other than that. So
exactly.
It's like, they were very good at sexy, they were very good at, like,
and they
fun
were
summer
doing
as well.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we've ever had a summer jam like that again.
I don't think
summer
we really
gone.
haven't.
Have we killed the K-pop summer jam?
Probably. I don't know if anyone is going to pick it back up.
I feel like the year after we had, like, Red Flavor, and then nothing ever again.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't think there's a group out there right now, especially with the direction that K-pop is going, that could even pick it back up and do that concept again. Because it's like, the concepts that are popular in K-pop and just even existing in K-pop right now are just so different than what was existing in, like, second, third gen. Yeah.
Yeah. So we go from, like, one of the best handled K-pop disbandments of all time
to probably the worst.
Maybe
the worst of Starship for sure.
The worst of Starship, but like maybe a low point.
Yeah.
Generally, a low point.
Just a low point for Starship as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is Boyfriend. Sammy and I both very famously
I love Boyfriend.
Fans of Boyfriend.
Boyfriend deserved better.
They deserved a lot better, and weirdly, Boyfriend is also pretty scandal-free as a whole. It's just that the way that they were managed by Starship was really bad.
It is the definition of, let's focus our efforts on the pretty shiny new group and ignore the old
100%. So Boyfriend debuted in 2011. The only other thing, other than just, like, releasing music that happened with them, is that in 2017, and this was a couple years after their last song, which was in 2015, 4 of them auditioned for The Unit. The Unit, famously the show for failed K-pop groups.
Yep.
We
hadn't heard from Boyfriend in years
2
at
years.
that point.
That is the first thing Boyfriend had done in 2 years after their last song.
Oh my god, I'm so upset.
Only Donghyun passed the audition, and I want to talk about this slightly because what the judges had told the members of Boyfriend after the audition is that they essentially didn't think that the other 3 members there had, like, any life or desire in them to still be an idol. It's like, you have lost all of the passion you have for singing and dancing and being an idol, and, like, I'm not sure if you really need to be here anymore.
These poor boys.
Just so
sad. Mind you, after that, Boyfriend would do one more song, then go on another, like, long hiatus.
Yep.
And then not disband. Because
they
that
don't
song
disband
was Star.
until 2019.
Star was in 2017. Star was in 2017, and then they would not disband till 2019.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Starship?
Donghyun he's the only person who passes the audition on the Unit, and he does make it into UNB, but as we have stated before, UNB did nothing for anybody in that group anyway. So
UNB actively was just people spinning their wheels for like 2 years.
It gave him something to do in the time that Boyfriend was sitting around doing absolutely nothing. So,
which I think also then invalidated him from being able to be part of their last comeback.
Yeah.
Because because he's in UNB, I think he couldn't be in Star. Because it was an exclusive contract.
I doubt it.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But on a brighter note, everyone, Boyfriend did actually have a comeback this year.
They did. Boyfriend left, they disbanded in 2019, all of them left Starship, all of them reformed together as a group, rebranded as BF instead. And they make Star their first comeback, but good for them, honestly.
You know, it didn't do great, but also it was a make Star for a very old group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm upset.
So here's really what happened with them, truthfully, is that from like 2011 through like 2014, like their first couple years of their career, they were not like super popular. They were probably like B to C tier boy group in the second gen era.
People knew who they were.
Yeah.
Like people if you ask a K-pop fan, an older K-pop fan, they probably remember like Janice, Witch, Obsession, Bounce, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
they're songs people have heard. They're not, like, absolute
They did have to go through, like, a pretty drastic concept overhaul because their first couple of songs were very, very weird.
If you really want to see cringe, just look up Boyfriend's Boyfriend.
That is a song.
It is a song. I wouldn't say it's bad.
It's not a bad
song. I'm not saying it's bad. But
if you know Boyfriend for their like what is typically known as the boyfriend sound, and then go watch that, it's like a whiplash.
Yeah, it's not what you think of for Boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he was able to be in Star. All 6 of them are in
that's
Star.
Good.
He was able to be in that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, yes, Boyfriend is a 6-member K-pop group, and also I think maybe the first set of K-pop twins.
I think so. I think that's the first set. Oh, was Crayon Pop before them? What's Crayon Pop's debut?
I don't know. Keep talking about why they went bad while I look up when Crayon Pop debuted.
The unfortunate thing is I think they were competing pretty much directly with Infinite for their sound of music. They're like sort of peak Boyfriend era music sounds very similar to Infinite's music, and Infinite was just more popular, and so all of the people who would have liked them were just with Infinite instead.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, go ahead.
No, Kwangmin and Youngmin are the first set of K-pop twins that I can see, because Crayon Pop's 2012.
Oh, okay, so just barely. First set of twins.
So Kwangmin and Youngmin of Boyfriend, first set of K-pop twins that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
There might be an earlier one.
There might be like a first gen one, but like I don't know anything about that.
I
literally have no idea about any of that.
But
so
in terms of mainstream K-pop twins, bam.
Boyfriend.
Also, maybe even mainstream K-pop siblings.
I think Jessica and Crystal were before.
Oh, yeah, they were earlier. Never mind. SNSD.
Yep. But what happened with Boyfriend is, so they released their essentially last main song, Bounce, in 2015. Guess what else happens in 2015? Monsta X debuts. Monsta X becomes immediately a hit, like instantly successful. And Boyfriend essentially got shoved to the side, got no more comebacks, were forced to go on the unit as a failed group because they didn't release music in 2 years.
But, like, just didn't do anything. And honestly, Bounce is a fucking banger.
It was great. Bounce is great.
Oh my god, Bounce is a banger.
And I think it was just because Boyfriend, I think, had consistently been, like, not a top-tier group. At the time, like, all that they had was Sistar, and Boyfriend was doing so much worse than Sistar, because Sistar was at the top of girl groups, and Boyfriend was, like, teetering around C to B tier for boy groups. And then they debuted Monsta X. Monsta X is so much, like, instantly popular that I think they were like, we can't afford to put money or effort into Boyfriend anymore. All of it has to go to Monsta X instead.
And then they just proceeded to spin their wheels with these boys for another, like, 4 years.
Because clearly, since they left Starship, they all have reconvened and re-debuted again.
Wanted to be in this group.
And, like, how many...
They have wanted to be Boyfriend.
We're 11 years past their debut date now, and then they have decided to independently reconvene and re-debut. So clearly they wanted to make music. And it's just like, if they were just gonna... Starship was just gonna have them sitting there doing nothing, they could have at least, like, just disbanded them early. So they weren't sitting around from 2015 to 2019 doing nothing.
Because here's the other thing. They re-signed them. 2019 is not 7 years after 2011.
I don't know what happened. It's just what was the purpose?
Was their contract over? And did they just maybe... I don't fucking know what happened. Or did they just forget... Were the contracts over and they just forgot to officially disband till 2019?
I don't know.
They might have done that. I would believe that.
Yeah.
That they never re-signed any of them, but their contract just, like...
Mm-hmm.
They just were like, oh shit, we forgot.
Right. It's like... It's just very
I think the
confusing.
other reason we get so upset about this specifically is that we really like Boyfriend. Boyfriend was so talented.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yep.
Some of the best second-gen music came out of Boyfriend, and we're very... And honestly, the unfortunate thing is I think we're going... Not totally, but in terms of groups, these groups are almost in order of how much we like them.
Yes.
Almost. Not fully in order of how much we
close.
like them, but almost in order of how much we like them. Because, like, I would still say I like Sister more than Boyfriend, but, like, those two are the two best groups.
Yes.
It is no mystery that you and I, Kayla, think that those two are the most talented Starship groups of all time.
Easily.
And probably the two most talented groups that they will ever make.
Mm-hmm.
It's no context test amongst the other three.
So, I looked on the Boyfriend's Wikipedia page. They did do a handful of Japanese songs in between 2015 and 2019.
They did the newest thing, which was ship them to Japan to see if maybe they got popular in Japan.
And that was apparently all they could afford to do with Boyfriend, was to have them release Japanese music.
There.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that Japanese music, especially at that time, was only... Because now I feel like people pay attention to every group release.
Yeah.
I remember a time where we didn't even have access to the Japanese music videos.
No.
Japanese music videos weren't put on YouTube the way they are. So, we didn't even know when they were doing Japan's
such
music.
lengths to listen to some of Infinite's Japanese music, because it just, it was straight up just not available.
I know, it's so unfortunate.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think that Boyfriend is the biggest wasted potential.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's so well, again, if you're popular, Starship will give you a good ending.
Give you everything if you're popular.
They give you everything.
If you're a little bit less than popular, then you gotta, it's like,
go
well,
fuck
tough shit
yourself,
for you.
apparently. Yeah. Alright, so we move on.
We're gonna move on to, a questionable person. So we're gonna talk about Jung Se-woon next. He does not debut officially solo until 2017.
But we have him here.
But he gets signed on to Starship in 2014 after he was on K-Pop Star 3. He then goes on Produce 101 Season 2 in 2017.
He does pretty well. He does actually quite well on that show.
12th place on that show.
That's so good,
yep.
but also so sad. I think 12th place is the worst place on that show.
It's so sad for him.
Depending on how many people obviously are going to debut.
Yeah.
Obviously, 11 people debuted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so many people.
I personally wanted him in that group over Ha Sung-woon, who got 11th, but because I liked him a lot. Now Ha Sung-woon fit 101 pretty well, but
true.
I did like him more.
Looking at 101's music and looking at Jung Se-woon's music, I think we are looking at two very different things.
Very different.
There's also about 5 people I would put him above in 101.
Oh, easily.
There's like 5 people I would take out of 101 to put Jung Se-woon in. Like, there's so many people.
But they debut him solo afterwards. He's adorable. I think he definitely is better as a soloist than he would be in any group. He, dancing for him is not a strong point. That's made pretty clear on Produce Season 2.
He does so many OSTs.
So many
OSTs. He's an I think they're putting him the K-Will route.
Yes.
Even though he
is a little bit more consistent with just solo music than K-Will.
But also he's far younger than K-Will.
Also still very young, yeah.
Yeah, still very young. He put out something, the oldest thing I think that's him was about a year ago.
Yeah, I remember he did something
solo
last year, yeah.
And, I personally enjoy it's not my favorite stuff, but I enjoy it. It's very adult contemporary a little bit.
It is. But I think
a little more poppy, a little more youthful than K-Will, but still very good. I think, weirdly, Starship has a really good grasp of, just, nice... Not super intense solo music, but just nice calming solo music.
Yeah, because he is in a similar realm to K-Will in terms of his solo music.
I feel like he in the long term is gonna sell really well into because I feel like a lot of this is very Korean radio friendly.
Yes, he's he's very much him and K-Will both in the Korean singer songwriter category a little bit. Yeah.
But, they're good. Good. Not, full ballad and, good.
Yeah, we're
and
not
also,
ballads.
his OSTs are also very good. Mm-hmm. He doesn't necessarily do OSTs to shows I watch a lot of.
But he's definitely around the OST.
He's around the OST a lot, yeah.
OST game, yeah.
Yeah. I like him.
He's good. I really like him.
Honestly, I think overall, from the ex-produced kids, he's gonna have a very long career.
Mm-hmm. I think he will, because I feel especially because he is so into OSTs, there are people whose entire careers they make drama OSTs.
K-pop OSTs,
so,
yes.
I think he'll be fine.
Look at the man BLK.
I think he'll be fine.
He'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, even his solo stuff, Because there's people where, like, they'll do OSTs and I really like them, but their solo music isn't necessarily that great. His solo music is actually very good. Honestly, I think that they are also doing a good thing with him is that he's making his music. They're not, like, pushing him to do 80 other thousand things. I think he's settling in to just be a Korean singer-songwriter.
Yep.
Long term. Also, his song Baby It's You is a fucking bop. I love that song. I genuinely love that song.
I really liked his
fucking bop
album from last year too.
Oh, In the Dark?
Yeah, that was pretty. I really liked that.
That was good. So now that we have all the this is mean.
Oh yeah, it's bad, but it's like for us, Starship has gotten worse the longer they've existed as a company. Gets worse.
Now that we've ended the positive aspect of our programming, we're gonna take a turn and we're gonna be mean for the rest of it. Also, I feel like we've talked a good half hour about 4 people.
Yeah,
we have 4 more to go.
Yeah,
so I'm curious how much shorter this is.
I don't know. It might be
longer
because we have so many complaints, but like, who knows? To be honest,
who knows?
One of this group has also existed like 4 months, so
fair.
Not a lot to say.
All right, so next we have Monsta X.
Yep.
Who debuted in 2015. In 2014, they all did No Mercy together, which was their pre-debut survival show where them and a bunch of other people, like, were apparently trying to get into Monsta X.
Yeah, it's one of the company-sponsored survival shows where they just put all their trainees on a survival show and then cut them. A bunch of them to debut. Yeah, and then cut a bunch of them. And here we are.
Yep. Not one of the bullshit ones where, like, they cut them and then bring them back. No, they were actually cut. They actually did make the group.
Starship followed the rules of survival shows.
Yeah. This wasn't the Stray Kids one.
Wasn't Stray Kids. This wasn't 16 by Twice.
16, yeah.
This wasn't a JYP survival show.
Exactly, JYP survival shows that have no rules.
Yep.
And so then there has been varying scandals with Monsta X. We don't talk about any of the bullshit ones.
Yeah.
The big one was in 2019. Wonho got into his big drug scandal and then was forced to, like, leave Monsta X.
Yeah.
I think that this is the most confusing. Starship handled this in the most confusing way possible.
It's like one of the most, like, botched scandals, I think. Of, like, a member having to leave a group. But, like, if you look at it, Starship has not had to deal with a scandal up until this point in time. So they had no idea what to do about it.
Yeah, like a major scandal that caused a member to leave a group. They have not done that yet. My thing with this is that I also think Starship kind of wanted an excuse to put Wonho out solo. Because Wonho was taken out of Monsta X. He was not taken out of Starship.
No, they took him officially out of Starship and they put him in a subsidiary of Starship is where he is right now. So he's
not out of Starship.
Yep.
He's still there.
He's still there. So what is confusing is that as we talked about this before also in the Scandal Iceberg where he got just a random drug accusation thrown at him from a person. Starship didn't even take the time to deny or research anything about it. They just, or even to see if it was true, or to see if he was ever gonna get, like, any drug charges or anything. They just immediately kicked him out.
Yeah, there was absolutely, like, no like, they just were like, this comes out. They say nothing for, like, 1 or 2 days, and then he immediately leaves the group, but doesn't leave Starship, but then, like, gets signed. He leaves Starship, and then we find out maybe, like, a week later that he's signed under a subsidiary, which essentially is the most convoluted way of doing this.
Yep.
And I do think that they probably knew. And I think they were like, well, do you want to be a soloist?
Because the official statement says that Wonho decided to leave because he didn't want to cause the group problems with, like, the bad press from the scandal. But, like, at that point, it doesn't matter because you're still going to be associated with them anyway.
Yeah, he's still under that. Like, it's so ridiculous what happened.
It was very confusing why that happened because then, Starship still went to, like, press claims against the person who had made the
Yeah.
claims against him or and everything.
Again, this just almost makes me think that this was a Starship plan to get for Wonho to be able to do the Western music equivalent of, like, you know, in Western music where, like, yeah, I'm the most popular member of this group, I'm gonna leave and go solo,
Yeah.
but without getting the backlash of him not just doing solo music,
Mm-hmm.
but just doing the full American thing of, I'm gonna leave, pulling a Zayn.
Yep.
And then just, like, leaving and doing solo music while the group stays.
Yep.
But now they have an excuse.
Yep.
And, like, we saw how that turned out. We can take this moment to talk about Wonho.
Mhm.
Wonho's doing great.
It's so because it's so
It's
confusing.
questionable in
Like,
quality,
this,
but
because
in terms of popularity, he's doing great.
because Starship announced he was leaving Monsta X in October 2019, and then the next day they terminated his contract with Starship. He then was found he was cleared of all charges by March of the next year.
They
So,
really just didn't.
they just like jumped to conclusions real fast and
Because the
decided
other
to
thing
kick
is
him
that,
immediately.
Again, kicking him out immediately almost makes it seem like he's guilty.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
That's
that
the
you
thing
know
is, like,
he's
they were
guilty.
just, like, admitting he had guilt without him actually having any guilt for that. And then it's, like, immediately after that, he then signed his contract with the Highline, which is the Starship subsidiary, like, right afterwards.
It's absolutely
And so it
ridiculous.
seems like it was, like, just, like, a really convoluted way for them to get Wonho solo. And it's very
Yeah.
confusing why we jumped
Again,
through all of these
there is
hoops for that.
absolutely no reason for them to have have kicked Wonho from Monsta
No,
X.
Wonho could
And not
be
even
doing
in
Wonho could be doing his solo music in Monsta X
And
right now.
Monsta X.
Like, there's nothing saying that he can't do that. Like,
Mind you, I feel like right now, Wonho is maybe not that Monsta X is unpopular, but in terms of people I see constantly talked about, I feel like I hear people talk about Wonho solo more than I hear them talk about Monsta X. Monsta X has their, like, solid fan base, like, that will support him no matter what.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like your general K-pop fan is inundated with so much Wonho because there's a lot.
I am just so disconnected from everything that Monsta X does generally
Mhm.
that it's like I am just not hearing about them because I go out of my way to not hear about
that
them.
also might
So
be that, is that I don't care about Monsta X
I
at
can't be
all.
bothered, to be honest.
But I feel like I also don't care about Wonho.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I hear
I
a lot
have
about
to see
him.
more of him.
I am, like, confronted with him long-term more.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I feel like overall, like, Monsta X is probably doing better financially, but there's also six
Yeah.
now? 6 of them now.
Yep.
I don't know.
Wonho
just is a very
is doing
confusing-
bad for a soloist. He's like selling about like
What a soloist
what
would
like
sell.
a decently popular male soloist would sell. It's just that I think
for him.
that because of the choices he's made with his music, I think it does get a lot more people talking about it. Because
You
even
mean
with
the
us,
fact that he kind of looks like a Chippendales dancer
yeah,
sometimes?
because Monsta X is now just so generic. I ignore everything they do because I know I'm not
Fair.
gonna like it.
I will
Wonho
say-
is so
I
in
will
your
say-
face with his music
Yes.
that it's
I
like
will
you're kind of
say,
forced to
Post
see him.
Wonho leaving, Monsta X's music did get far more generic
Yes.
and kind of boring, but also far less in your face.
It did
And I think that's the Wonho
the Wonho
aspect of it.
effect.
Because they did push Wonho so heavily, even in Monsta X.
They did.
It was just Wonho in your face.
hmm
Wonho's abs in your face.
What was the last song he did with Monsta X? I can't even remember.
Was it that
Was he?
English one?
I can't remember if he was in the English album or not.
He was. He was in Who Do You Love? And I think the first one
Huh.
without him might be Fantasia.
Okay, then yeah, that is the kind of the start of where we started getting more generic Monsta X.
Yeah. I don't think he's in Fantasy. Yeah, he's not.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in, like, Alligator and Jealousy and all of those.
all of them.
Is he in Follow?
Is he in Follow? I don't know. I don't remember when I have
The
like
Monsta X
absolutely my
timeline-
timeline for Monsta X music is like I don't
He
don't
is in
have any.
Follow. That might be the last Korean one he's in.
I was like,
He's
I
in
don't have any
Follow.
timeline for like Monsta X's later career. It's like anything past like 2016 is a blur for
Anything
me.
past, like, Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened?
Once we
Where am
ended
I?
that, like, the clan trilogy, I lose all concept of time on Monster X.
You, like, yeeted out of that?
Yeah.
Because it all kind of blurs. It's so much music.
Yeah.
They were constantly putting out music
Because
at
once
the time.
Alligator came out, that's when I made the active decision to stop caring about them. And then, so anything they
like, "I'm
released
done."
after that point, I'm just like, it's a blur for me, so.
Yeah. I think overall, they just kind of got, like, they're still doing decently popular, and I will say they are being given comebacks.
Mhm.
They still are. I think it's because they are more popular than their next boy group, Gravity, right now.
Yeah.
They haven't had the boyfriend treatment where they get shipped off to nowhere.
Right, because I think they're just doing better generally as a whole than Boyfriend ever did, so they can't just like push them aside and leave them to do nothing, because they do still sell even like late in their career. So
what I do think is, I do think they are sort of pushing them less.
Yeah.
I find that like Monsta X is sort of, this might just be the fact that they're getting older and like we're already starting the constant military service for them.
Yeah.
Because like Shonu's gone.
Yep.
I do think that they're just getting pushed less. Like
Yeah.
they're not trying to build. They're trying to
maintain
their
a
current
fan
base
Yeah, they're maintaining a
opposed to
fan
grow
base
it.
instead of growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also,
Which I think for the most part, it's a place where a boy group can settle for a very long time.
Yeah.
A boy group can keep that for years.
Mhm. We've often
Look at
referred to
Soju.
groups as a term of like going full Monsta X, which is where
That is a term. I don't think have we ever used that on the podcast?
I don't
or is
think
that a
so, but I'd
personal
like
thing?
to I'd like to explain it in case we do we use it in the
ever
future.
use it.
If we say it's like they pulled a full Monsta X, it means that they at some point in time had music that we enjoyed, veered off path into making really offensive music, but that have
not offensive in the fact that it's like offensive.
no, but we just don't like
bad.
that. We don't like. We think it's bad. And then at some point in time,
sonically offensive.
it's gotten less offensive and into like generically boring or ignorable. And so I just don't have to pay attention to them anymore.
Exactly.
And that's
So
what we call pulling full Monsta X.
Full Monsta X. If you're on like when a group I like starts to make
bad music.
Bad music, it's where we start going on like it's like a curve where it's like
we've started the Monsta X trajectory.
And then we're going down.
Yes.
Recently, the most recent example of this is that we start saying that Stray Kids
has gone full Monsta X. Yes.
I'm gonna wait one more comeback before I say the full
We've
Monsta X, but they're on
almost
the downward slope.
Yeah, we're on the downward where we're getting like generically ignorable. So it's like
Yeah.
we're on the way
So
to
we're
pulling
improving.
full Monsta X.
We call it an improvement.
Yes.
So,
Because
yeah,
it's like Monsta X's music, like I'll still listen to their comebacks, but I'll hear it once and then just like never care about it again. So
exactly, like it's not bad.
It's not bad
just
anymore.
not
I just don't care, and it's not for me anyway, and I know it's
And,
not
like,
for
there's-
me. So
And there's like a very specific couple eras of Monsta X where we're like, this is not.
Yeah.
This is really.
it's really like the
We think
alligator
it's
to
bad.
follow era is like where we were like really in a weird
absolutely.
place.
Even like Jealousy, which I think is earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. There's a lot of Monsta X songs in that era that kind of all blur together that I don't remember which one came out first.
Yep.
Because at this point it's been like 4 years.
It's been a lot. It's been
But
been a
like
lot.
that kind of era of Monsta X. Like post Beautiful Monsta X.
yes, exactly.
But yeah, overall Monsta X does get a term.
They do.
In our vocabulary.
We have a term for K-pop that we just refer to them by, so I guess that counts for something.
I guess. All right.
To move on to another girl group, finally, we have WJSN or Cosmic Girls. They debuted in 2016 as originally 12 members. 3 of the members are not under Starship Entertainment. Technically, they're under Yeho Entertainment, which is Cheng Zhao, Meikui, and Wan Yi, who are all their Chinese members. Pretty immediately after their debut,
Maybe one comeback. What was Catch Me a comeback or was Catch Me just a second
I think
single?
it was a comeback of it, technically.
So 2 a debut and 1 comeback in.
Yeah.
After that is
It was
when
a
we
debut
get...
and a comeback. Then they add Yeonjung after she went on produce season 101, the original.
And then while she was in Iowa.
While she was in Iowa, because Iowa's contracts weren't exclusive, so she joined WJSN in the middle of being in Iowa.
So and what Iowa would do at the time is that was when Iowa
Was
did
doing What a
What a
Man.
Man.
Because she wasn't
Because
there for
that's
that.
a subunit.
Yep, and then it's like Sejong and Mina debuted in Gugudan during that time, and then Chaeyeon went back to Daya during that time.
Yeah,
It's like,
everyone sort of took a break in the middle, and then they did What a Man, which is their best song.
Yep.
And like half of them weren't there.
Exactly.
But back to WJSN.
Yep. In 2018, the 3 Chinese members, technically under Yahoo Entertainment, are gonna unofficially leave the group and never return to the group.
They in 2018, after Save You Save Me, they all go to do Chinese activities, i.e. Shang Zhao would go to be a judge on Idol Producer, and the other 2 ended up on Produce China Season 1.
Yes.
Both of them making Rocket Girls.
Very weird.
They have yet to leave, technically. No. They're still there.
They're still there. I have 0 hopes they're gonna return ever. Like, I have even less hopes for them to return than I had hopes that Lei was ever gonna do stuff with EXO again. But he did.
And, yeah, recently we found out the answer to that.
Yep.
He's not.
Yep, now he's gone, officially.
I mean, they did see, look, they at least CGI Lei into that last comeback. They've never CGI'd those girls back into any WJSN comeback.
Yep.
Shang Zhao is mainly an actress now.
Yep.
She's in some decent shows. Guys, Falling to Your Smile is great.
Yeah, so technically because the 3 of them are under Yahoo Entertainment, we're not gonna talk about them anymore because this is Starship Entertainment.
Is coming later.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yahoo Entertainment, we'll make a mental note to talk about them.
We'll come back to the 3 of them later in this year.
Yep.
And then the other things that happened, 2020, they get the Chokame subunit, our favorite. And then in 2021, we get WJSN The Black, our other favorite subunit. Yep. And 2022, they're on Queendom 2. So here we are.
Woo! With their former label mate Hyolyn.
Yep.
I wonder if they're gonna mention that.
They might have already. I mean, I think
maybe.
I'm not watching the episodes of Queendom 2, so I can't really say, but I think they might have already, I think they, treat Hyolyn as, a company senior, essentially.
I mean, she technically is.
Yeah. I mean, Sistar was only really active for 1 year after WJSN's debut, but they were definitely there for their trainee period.
All of their trainee period, and also the looming they are the first girl group to debut post Sistar.
Yep.
They are their Sistar's little sister group.
Yes.
Technically.
They are. I think how many years? I think they do a solid 6 years in between girl groups at Starship. I just noticed because Sistar and WJSN was 6 years, and then IVE was another 6 years from WJSN. Wow. So yeah,
they're consistent at least. It'll be another 6 years for the next one.
Yep. I wonder if that's purposeful. That it's 6 years, so it's a year before they would disband at 7 years.
Fair. So I think that other than the fact that they, through no fault of their own, lost 3 members, not through scandal, not through anything, just because, again, why are you co-doing a group?
Number 1, it was a weird decision to do that in the first place. I don't know if they realized that Yahoo Entertainment had so much of a larger pull in China that they do.
Because the other thing is that you have to remember that even Justin and Theo were technically going under they were Yehua trainees, but when they are produced, they were training with Starship.
No, I think they were technically Yehua stuff.
They were technically Yehua,
but I don't think they were ever under Starship, the two of them.
No. But I think that they were possibly going to be in a boy group version of that, and then I think Yehua. I think there were rumors that was going to happen.
And then after the 3 of them just left for China for incredibly better career prospects than they had in WJSN.
Incredibly better. Oh my god, they're all doing so well. I'm so happy for them.
Shang Zhao, any one of the 3 of them by themselves has a better career in China on their own than WJSN has as an entire group in Korea, and that's just the truth of the matter. They have such more profitable careers in China than they ever would have had they just continued to be in WJSN.
And you know what? They deserve it. I'm gonna make a statement. I'm gonna say this now. I think we think that the 3 best members of that group unfortunately had to leave that group.
Yeah, unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but it is the truth.
Yep. Yeah, that's like WJSN also
It's
been a
weird...
solidly B tier girl group for most of their career, but have never
feel like
gained a lot.
I think every group that came out from IOI was sort of expected to do far better than any of them did. They might be the only one that's still alive.
WJSN might be doing the best out of all of the
They are.
IOI
They're doing by far the best.
Half
but I
of
think
the IOI groups are dead.
Wiki Mickey's still around.
Yep.
Because at first I thought they were the only one left. And I'm like, no, Wiki Mickey is technically still around.
Daya might technically still be around, but that like,
Daya is a group that every time they come back, they've been dying for years.
Yeah.
We keep being surprised every time Daya announces a comeback.
It's really shocking that they're still kicking, but they're still going at it.
Somehow.
Yeah, but other than Chungha, who I think Chungha's doing the best, but
Chungha's doing great, but Chungha's not a group.
But of the groups, they are
Somi is also
very
doing
clearly
decently.
doing the best. Yeah, but the
soloists do great.
Yeah,
that's why every other produce group went on to all be soloists.
Yep.
Instead of what's it called? Instead of a group.
Wanna One still has groups, but like a vast majority of Wanna One
are soloists.
Solo, yeah.
But otherwise, I just think that WJSN is still kicking.
They're still
I'm very curious what happens now because of IVE.
I am curious what happens. I'm curious if they disband, and I'm also curious if Queendom 2 does anything of use for them.
To them?
I don't think it will, because I don't think that show does anything of use to anybody.
I'm saying I don't think that show is particularly useful. Has Queendom, or by extension Kingdom, ever benefited anyone?
I think it benefited Oh My Girl a little bit, but even then, I don't know if it was
I think
enough.
they were already on the upward trajectory.
That's my thing, is that any group that has gone on that show, I think people contribute their increase in success to going on the show, but I think it is honestly a lot of it is just their natural like trajectory of growth to begin with. Like, I don't think the show is doing much to help or hinder anybody on that show.
I agree.
It's like a time waster.
I entirely agree. I do think that is just spinning our wheels for a little bit.
So I don't necessarily think it's gonna help anything. I am curious. I don't know. If they have any contract renewal news out or anything yet, but that they're due for that soon.
Yeah, they're sort of in talks with all that, and I'm very curious what happens. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know. I think that they're one of those groups where I wouldn't be surprised if we kept seeing them, but also wouldn't be surprised if they disband. I think girl groups are always a 50-50. I get so scared.
Mm-hmm.
Because, who was expecting Lovelies to just disband?
For me it was they're probably gonna disband because they're not selling well enough for Woolham. So I was 90% sure they were gonna disband because they just I think
weren't doing great.
They weren't doing great, and Woolham also wasn't giving them a lot of comebacks their last couple of years post Queendom too. So it was I think at that point Woolham was pretty confident that they were just gonna disband them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Queendom 2 is what will determine what's gonna happen with WJSN.
Yeah. But we
they
said,
do have
Queendom,
the shiny new girl
just
group.
Queendom doesn't benefit really anybody that a significant amount. So,
but maybe
we'll see. To go on from WJSN, we then have Gravity, our favorites. Gravity debuted in 2020. Only real thing we have to say about them is that in 2019, 4 of them went on Produce X 101. And Minhee and Hyungjun were in X1 for a hot second before X1 disbanded. So
poor X1 died.
Yep. They're still very new. Their music is bad. I don't like it.
We don't like it.
Yep.
There's not much to say. They are getting a lot of comebacks, so I do think that Starship is at least doing that.
They're getting
correctly.
a lot of comebacks, and I think they sell pretty well. So they're definitely popular. They're not at Monsta X level popularity, which is why Monsta X is not being.
I still also think that that's also partially because what's it called? That's also partially because Monsta X didn't start at Monsta X level pop. Starship groups tend to gain popularity over time till they reach their peak.
Yeah. I think they're doing well. I don't think that they're like in any
Bad?
danger of being
No.
like pushed aside as unsuccessful, because they are doing very
Mm-mm.
well, especially having only they're 2 years old now, so
Yeah. They're toddlers.
they are. I just don't like their music. Their
don't
newest song
either.
was an
But, like-
improvement, but there's just
here's
not
the thing.
there's just too much bad there for me to want to justify that means they're gonna be good.
But here's the thing. I think that for your average K-pop fan, this is the noise music people are craving now.
Oh, easily.
So, like, you do you, Gravity, you're selling.
Yep.
So, good for you, I guess.
Sure.
So, now we move on to the last one. So, IVE debuted in 2022. The only notable thing is that...
Did they debut in 2022, or was it December?
It was December
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
December 2021, apologies. And then Yoojin and Wonyoung were in Produce 48 and were in Eyes 1. Wonyoung was the center of Eyes 1.
Mm-hmm.
A child.
Child.
Why
Still
do we
still
keep
a
putting...
child, but a little bit less of a child.
Why are so many children the centers of produce groups?
It's happened a lot for some reason.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
But otherwise, they just had a comeback like 3 days ago.
Yep. They did.
As we record this.
They did.
They're doing fine.
They're doing pretty
They're
good
doing
for a
well,
girl group. Yeah.
actually. Yeah, they're actually one of the most... I mean, not that we've had many girl group debuts this year.
A lot of them going solo, the Eyes One members, so
Yeah.
we're still following
But in
that.
terms of girl group debuts, they're doing quite well.
They're doing well.
Yeah.
The only thing is that like they've only done digital singles so far.
Yeah,
but I think they still chart pretty well. So
And also, I think that that's sort of the way that people have been doing recent girl group debuts. Like,
Lightsum
and
also did that. And
Lightsum did that. NMIX did that. A bunch of girl groups are just debuting with digital singles and not albums.
Yeah.
I guess
that's what
they're
we're doing.
scared they're not gonna... Like, that's not a Starship thing. That's just an industry weird thing that they're doing.
Because even like thinking back at it, like Blackpink debuted with digital singles. Like, I guess that's
did.
just the thing we do.
Yep, that's just how we do things now.
Yep.
I mean, Blackpink did digital singles for like almost 2 years before they got an album.
That's also
Like, that's
specifically a YG problem. But I don't think they're bad. I just don't.
No, I like them.
I don't care about them.
There's nothing that interesting about them.
My problem is that Yoojin and Wonyoung were two of my least favorite members of IZ*ONE to begin with, so there was like
Fair.
not really anything for me to look forward to for this group from the
you
start.
weren't having a great time with them.
Exactly. Wonyoung is a fine center. I think she's
think
one
they
of
are
my favorite centers of Produce because she does have a lot of stage presence, and
Fair.
that's what I always want
My
from
thing
a
is,
center.
I don't... The concept of this group and the age of its members is not wrong, not bad. It's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, half the members seem like they're pulling... Like, it's almost the opposite of the Sistar problem, where it's like, it's not even that all the members seem like they don't fit this concept. It's that, like, 2 of them don't look like they fit this concept.
Yeah, it's confusing. Just because it's like they're not even like super young. Like there's a girl in that group who's younger than Wonyoung, like because Wonyoung's like I think 18 now, so she's like not even really a child anymore. But I don't think it's very cohesive because I just think all the members of the group are not on the same page of like what the concept is and how they need to be executing it, especially in their like choreography and performances, because there's such a really stark contrast to like the facial expressions and the stage presence you get from some of them that it just feels like really uncohesive right now.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, this is their second comeback, so they need to have time to like be more cohesive as a group and like figure out their concept and everything and grow into it. So there's like still room for growth there.
Yeah, I think overall they're gonna grow into it soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is just like early group generally problems.
Yeah,
because you can almost say the same thing for Gravity.
Yeah, Gravity is also their concept in music has been like still pretty inconsistent over the last 2 years they've been a group. So I think they're still learning what they want to do. Yeah, we'll see what happens with both of them.
Mm-hmm. But otherwise, those are all the groups of Starship
That has
Entertainment.
been Starship Entertainment. What do we give them?
Overall,
pretty
not bad.
Pretty good overall.
I think other than the fact that they sort of cater to an audience that is not the two of us.
I think that's our biggest problem with Starship is that a lot of their groups make music that we don't like, but that's not a Starship problem, that's like an us problem.
That's just an us problem.
Yeah.
That's a me problem.
They
so,
really
overall,
botched the Wonho thing, but that's really the worst they
botched
boyfriend
the
completely
thing.
as a group.
And honestly, I think we hold that against them far more than we should because we really like boyfriend. Yeah. We do hold that
we do hold the boyfriend thing against them a lot,
like too much.
And I think it makes it worse the fact that all their other boy groups they've had since boyfriend we've liked significantly less than boyfriend. So
yeah, fair. So I think that's mainly an us problem. So honestly, I would put them. What did we give? We should be keeping a list of this.
FNC a 9, and we gave Cube a 4.
I want to give Starship an 8 to an 8.5.
Yeah.
In terms of management. Because I think they've managed their groups pretty decent. I'll give them an 8 because the boyfriend thing was so botched. But the Sistar thing was perfectly done. I wish more companies did disbandments like they did with Sistar.
Mm-hmm.
It was so well done.
The only thing I can we knew us did a similar thing recently. They had
it did, but I don't think it was as
yeah. The New West's career was so all over the place.
It was so up and down that I'm just what if we it was a lot.
But at least we were given a clear answer and they got a goodbye album.
We were given a full goodbye.
It's I'll take it.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah. Oh yeah, so they're solidly in second place. For K-pop
they're solid
company.
Second place. They'll probably move around a little bit, but I'm surprised how... Because I feel like I went into this having a negative opinion on Starship, but looking at it fully, I'm no, they really haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah. And it's it's we have them at an 8 out of 10, and FNC had significantly more scandals to deal with than Starship.
Yeah.
The thing is that
they had more...
Yeah, I do wonder, how they would deal with another scandal, because they've really only had to deal with one.
With the one, and they botched it.
And they botched it completely. So
but it ended up... But also, I don't know if we don't know if our K-pop conspiracy that they botched it on purpose.
They could have been on purpose. Yeah, but that's still bad.
Was it a botch if it's is it a botch if it's on purpose?
Okay, well, it's still bad. Regardless of if it was on purpose, it was still bad.
It's morally incorrect.
Yeah.
I mean, it did save Wonho from a bunch of hate if he literally pulled a Zayn.
This is true. This is very true.
But, overall, I think they did quite well. I think we give FNC... I think
FNC is higher because FNC had a lot of scandals, but handled all of them as best as they could. So
and also has so many more groups to handle at the same time.
Yeah. Because FNC hasn't really disbanded their groups. By the time we're at... Starship only has their 4 groups now because Sister and Boyfriend is disbanded. FNC still has all their groups
who almost don't count.
AOA, so...
Mm-hmm. And I think otherwise, it's the fact that, maybe in a year or two we'll, think very differently about Starship, because this is sort of... It's only now that they are starting to get a large stable of groups to all manage at the same time.
Yeah.
So, if, for example, they just throw not saying it's gonna happen, but, if, for example, they threw WJSN away because they have the new girl group,
mm-hmm.
that obviously would, complicate things a little more, but we don't live in the future. We don't know.
Right, exactly. But who knows? I think they are coming up on, a crucial couple of years with, Monsta X WJSN, contract renewal time, where it's, they could be down to 2 groups. So
and also Monsta dealing with the Monsta X what's it called, enlistment situation of figuring out. That's always a fun thing to watch companies try to deal with, which is the fact of how are we gonna
figure out enlistment
for your group?
Mm-hmm.
And then girl groups, obviously it's are you gonna do the 7-year curse, or are we gonna keep going?
Right. Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. The next 2 years, I think, are going to be pretty crucial for them. So,
absolutely.
Only time will tell.
We'll see what happens.
Starship.
And then we'll also see how Gravity and IVE grow.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like Gravity might, I don't know if, Gravity's not pulling a Monster X because I haven't liked Gravity to begin with, but.
I think, yeah, no, it's very different. Like, a pulling them on sex is that we had to
like them at
then
some point.
dislike, then ignore.
Exactly.
Right?
There's a clear
then
3
ignore.
stages to pulling a full Monster X.
That it's a very specific thing. If we never liked and then started to like you, that's not pulling a Monster X. That actually might be pulling somebody else.
We'll have to think about that.
We'll have to think, because that's definitely happened before, but we have to
figure out what group
first.
we would call that. But yes.
And then also, if you went bad to ignorable, which is kind of what Gravity's starting to pull.
That's also not full Monster X.
That's not pulling a Monster X.
There's a very specific 3 stages to full Monster X.
Pulling a Monster X. Your career has to follow 3 stages.
Yes.
And genuinely, a lot of groups are pulling a Monster X.
Yes.
We've said that about like 4 or 5
Multiple groups have done
Multiple groups have pulled a full Monster X.
Yep.
Or are in the process
We're in the
of pulling a Monster
process. We're in the
X.
process of going that direction, so we'll see. So this has been our review on Starship Entertainment. We are available on all major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're listening to us on a place where you can leave us a review, please do so. We also have a YouTube channel where we post all of our episodes along with a fun extra clip video every week. Next month I think we're doing Woolham.
We're doing Woolham next month, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to give away what our next one is at the end, and the next one is Woolham Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Kayla,
that's
Kayla
my
so
episode.
far that's Kayla's episode to like. You have a lot of opinions.
I know all of the things about Woolham, so
yes.
I
think our next few are actually gonna be very interesting to see where people land.
Yeah, I know.
Because you know, Starship was mostly boring.
Mm-hmm.
But Woolham has had a lot of groups for a while.
They have. Woolham is interesting as a whole.
Oh,
so
next month will be fun.
We'll see where that happens.
All right.
But we will talk to you next episode. Bye.
Bye.